video. Uh, Today, for this video, I'll be talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows. In case you guys didn't know, Assassin's Creed Shadows is set to release in November. I'm not sure if it was this year or next year, but I think I saw it was this year. So yeah, um, Assassin's Creed Shadow released on November. The setting is in Japan. Now, a lot of people are actually quite dissatisfied with the creator's choice of main protagonist. I don't really get the issue, but most of the people's issue was the fact that the creator market the protagonist as a samurai, and people were saying the person the protagonist was based off, which is Yasuke, was never a samurai under Nobunaga's serve. Is that the word? Basically, Yasuke was never a samurai while he was serving under Nobunaga. But yeah, I haven't really watched the trailer yet. That's a lie, because this is the second time I recorded this video. The first time my mic wasn't on, so scuff. But yeah, so let's watch the trailer. Ah, shit. Of course. Of course. Of course. Another scarf. Another scarf. But yeah.
Who are you? Who do you serve?
You know, every time I hear "Who are you?" I am so tempted. Yeah, it's like a reflex by now to actually answer, "It's me, Simba." Ah,
All I have ever known in my life, our land, our customs, my family, burns in the name of unification.
ha. Plot armor, guys. Plot armor.
You are still a frog in a well who knows nothing of the sea. The ocean's filled with new ships, but they all come from the same river. Greed.
River of Greed.
Power. Vengeance.
Hmm.
And you, will you continue down that river? Or choose another path beyond what we see?
And we must look for it together.
Actually, the main character, I've said this before and I've said it again, I'll say it again. The main character reminds me so much of Bayek from Assassin's Creed Origin. Pretty good looking, if I have to say so.
We must learn to trust, rebuild.
And follow the blade.
Actually, I just remembered something. Let's go back to that town. Because I saw comments that
We must learn to trust.
there were several Japanese people on that
And
commented
follow the blade.
that it looks more Chinese than Japanese. The settings, the buildings, etc. But I unfortunately can't really see it. How very discreet.
I said, who do you serve? We are the shadows.
That serve the light.
Alright. And that is the trailer. Whoops.
Since the very
Whoops.
first Assassin's
What the heck is wrong with this? So yeah, that's the trailer. And I'll be honest, I'm not pulled by the trailers. It feels lacking. But I'm not sure what was lacking. There's not enough stuff that intrigues me. So let's see. There's this I think this was an interview by the creator, I think, who they are talking about who Naoe and Yasuke is. Yay, muted. Let's go.
With our dual protagonist, we have two fantasies. With our dual protagonist, we have two fantasies, the samurai and the shinobi. We want the player to experience both, and we cannot squeeze both fantasies into one character because samurai and shinobi came from a different social class. They have different
Fantasies. There you go.
lives, so we cannot really mix them together.
The historical character of Yasuke presented a really exciting opportunity for the narrative team. We approached it in the same way that so much of the work is done in Assassin's Creed, which is really in terms of research and history first. Not a lot is known
Let's repeat that.
in history first.
So they chose to base the main character with Yasuke and wanted it to be historically correct. Was it? Is that what they're trying to say?
Not a lot is known about him, but what we did know, or we do know, is that he arrived in Japan in 1579, right when our game starts. in that he had relationships with some of the most interesting people in our setting, like Oda Nobunaga, the Portuguese, and Jesuits, which made it very sort of tantalizing and enticing from a narrative perspective to come in and start weaving these facts with story in between.
The more we read about the character, the more he was inspiring for us. He's a foreigner
Okay, let him finish this.
discovering Japan, and we thought it's the perfect fit because he's discovering Japan and you are discovering Japan also.
And on the
So what he said there is that,
and on the flip side,
Eh?
we have Naue.
where was it?
He's discovering, and he was about the character. The more he was inspiring.
I don't know where he read about Yasuke, because I too made a quick research about Yasuke. It took me about 1 hour of lunch break to do this research. It was a quick one. And sure, they have, I think, years of research about this character, but I don't know what they read is inspiring, because what I read seems to be different than what they were reading.
For us, he's a foreigner discovering Japan, and we thought it's the perfect fit because he's discovering Japan and you are discovering Japan also.
And on the flip side, we have Naue, who comes from the province of Iga, which is a remote mountainous area, fiercely independent, known as the birthplace of shinobi. So they're very contrasting perspectives that really expose a lot of different sides and facets of the era.
When Oda came, he completely destroyed Iga. You have Yasuke and Oda that coming to destroy the shinobi. So it can kind of create this interesting tension between two characters.
We were able to connect her to the province of Iga and the legendary Igan shinobi historical figure, Fujibayashi Nagato, who's her father in the game. So we understand why she has the skills that she has and the values that she learns from her father in the people of Iga, which are valor, benevolence, and wisdom. And as a young person still at the start of the game, we get to see now we acquire even more of that wisdom as the story unfolds.
And if you ask anybody, it's super clear that samurai will be combat heavy and a shinobi will be stealth heavy. It creates this distinction right away. Yasuke can fight with all his advantage, his stature, like he's a big guy. He can break door, he can fight multiple enemies, he can break armor.
Watch when the game released. Watch as Yasuke died from one hit by probably one of the Templar assassin.
Compared to Naue, like her character and their outfit, it's really about being stealth, being unseen. She's the only one with the hidden blade, so they have clear advantage that put them into.
So Naue is the only one that have the hidden blade. Yasuke doesn't. The hidden blade was, I mean, you know what? Fine. Odyssey also doesn't have hidden blade. Instead, he has the head of a spear. Okay, fine. You're throwing away the uniqueness of what's making Assassin's Creed, the hidden blade. Understandable. Not.
The stealth and the combat, even if they can do a bit of both.
They're a really great pair together because on one side we have Naue, who's very intense and passionate and determined woman who is very set on her goals. She's kind of got her heart on her sleeve, and she'll say what she feels in the heat of the moment. And this intensity that she brings as a shinobi, but that she also brings to her relationship. And this balances very well with Yasuke, who is sort of a thoughtful, level head to Naue's fiery passion. We really thought about somebody like Yasuke historically, who was able to come to Japan and have the life that he did there, to enter service for
only for about a year.
Oda Nobunaga and achieve all of the things that he did. Like, what kind of person?
What did he achieve? I really want to know where they get all this information about Yasuke, despite having little to none being written about him.
Would go through all of this. So our Yasuke is very intelligent, thoughtful, and respectful of this culture that he encounters, and that makes him a very nice sort of counterpart to Naue.
From what I can see, their Yasuke is 100% a fictional character with no inkling of that historical figure other than the skin and the fact that he served Nobunaga.
He's a bit mysterious as well, and that's something we get to see unfold as the game progresses.
All right. And that is Assassin's Creed Shadows, both interview and trailer. So basically, people were angry, disappointed that they chose Yasuke, one, and that they market Yasuke as a samurai, two, because according to this person, Yasuke was never a samurai, and he screenshotted the Wikipedia page about Yasuke. I believe this part of the wiki has been removed by some other person, but this was probably the original documentation of the Wikipedia. It said it's important to note that there are no historical writings or evidence that Yasuke was considered a samurai. So we will get to this later. I did a research of my own, and it's gonna be interesting find, I guess. And so basically Yasuke was never a samurai. People were shitting on that. So and then people then defended Ubisoft by saying the game was never about historical accuracies, right? I mean, it's a game. I never look at game for historical accuracies, but this 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 I was pissed back then because I I remember seeing a crossbow on Assassin's Creed trailer, the first Assassin's Creed, and then I found out there was no crossbow when the game was released. So apparently the creator back then says crossbow was historically inaccurate. And Ubisoft wanted to maintain historical authenticity. Right? So now there's two camp. There's one that says Ubisoft doesn't want historical authenticity, and then another one that says Ubisoft wanted to maintain that historical authenticity. If they do, though, if they do, then why was Yasuke a samurai? Right? So, yeah. Anyway, I actually don't like this person, but he does make one good point. No one cares about historical inaccuracies in Assassin's Creed. You play a game to enjoy it, not for historical inaccuracies. Plus, 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 plus. It's Assassin's Creed. You play the game to kill people. That's it. That's it. Anyway, I guess let's go. Let's go. Let's go to my PowerPoint. Let me just put it up. And keep in mind, my PowerPoint background is white. So if you guys are watching this in a dark room, make sure to lower the brightness. I wanted to make the background at least grayish, but I don't have time to edit it because I want to release this video as quickly as I can. But yeah, so let's go to the PowerPoint. Was it this one? It was not this one. It is this one. Okay. Now, is my mic on? It is. I don't know how the quality is though, but we will see. Anyway, Yasuke, the vassal of Oda Nobunaga. I chose the word vassal here because that's fact. He is indeed a vassal of Oda Nobunaga. He served under him. And because we are trying to find out whether he's a samurai or not, I chose the word vassal. Now, keep in mind, I did this research in like an hour. So naturally, the information here is not as good as probably other people. I tried to make it, to make sense of it, and I did get distracted by the warrior class system of feudal Japan. So I tried. Okay, I tried. Anyway, let's start then. So who is Yasuke? As we know from the Assassin's Creed Shadows earlier, Yasuke is known in the modern world as the black samurai that served under Oda Nobunaga. Assassin's Creed Shadows is not the first game that have Yasuke. I think Samurai Warrior have it, and I believe Neo also have him. I believe he was called the Obsidian God. So yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadow is not the first. He is actually pretty popular in a way. So was he really a samurai? Okay, in today's term, he is a samurai because nowadays samurai is used as a blanket term to refer the warriors. I use the word warrior here. The warrior of, I want to say, ancient Japan, but I don't think that era is considered ancient. But ancient do work, so let's just keep it at that. Anyway, it's a blanket term that refers to warriors of those times. There you go. But is he considered a samurai back during Oda Nobunaga's era? Because remember, nowadays samurai is used as a blanket term, but back then, the term are different. The distinctions would be different. So this is what we're gonna find out, I guess. Now, before that, we have to know, how did Yasuke come to Japan? So basically, he was brought over by an Italian patrolman. I don't know I know what kind of patrolman. I'm just not sure what they are. But based on the reference that I use, the patrolman Alessandro Valigano, I don't know if I pronounced that right, because for people who knows me, they know that I sometimes pronounce names differently. But yeah, so Alessandro Valigano brought Yasuke from India after doing his missionary work in China. Yasuke was one of the guards whose duty is to protect the missionaries, which is Alessandro. And because of that, you know, being a bodyguard, you need to know martial arts, right? And it was because of that there's a divided opinion whether Yasuke was a slave or was he a free man. Because if he was a slave, he actually cannot learn martial arts, because back then it's almost impossible for these masters to let their slave learn something that the slave can use against them. So he should be a free man, right? But here's the problem. When meeting Nobunaga, Alessandro brought Yasuke, and it was with the status of a slave. So he introduced Yasuke as a slave. And then, you know, they meet, and then Nobunaga saw Yasuke and he thought that his body was painted with inks. So he ordered Yasuke to take off his clothes and wash his body, thinking that maybe after washing up, the ink will be washed away. But Yasuke's skin turned even darker instead. It's clean, it is clean, but darker. Now, that dark skin was intriguing for Nobunaga. He shows great interest in Yasuke, so he asked Alessandro to give Yasuke up. And that was when Because before this, Yasuke was not called Yasuke. There are actually no record what his original name was, but it was only after he became vassal for Nobunaga that he was given the name Yasuke by Nobunaga himself. And at the same time, Nobunaga also gave him the status of Bushi. Not warrior, but Bushi. I mean, not samurai, but Bushi. So, what are Bushi? Are they samurai though? All samurai are Bushi, but not all Bushi can become samurai. Why? Why? Because back then, the status of samurai are closely associated with the middle and upper echelons of warrior class as well as the nobility. So the warriors of Japan back then have different classes. We'll figure it out. We will find out later more, because that was the rabbit hole that I decided to dive into. So these warriors, right? These warriors are usually associated with a clan, and they served under their lord. And usually, the middle and upper echelons of the warrior class are also trained as officers in military tactics and grand strategy. So they are a trained officers. Now, has Yasuke received training as a samurai? Unfortunately, there are no records of him being trained to be an officer in military tactics and grand strategy. This might be due to the fact that there are language barriers, because during the, I think, Honnoji incident, Mitsuhide's vassal once asked Mitsuhide about what to do to Yasuke when they caught him. And Mitsuhide replied, and it was actually quite a rude one too, because he called Yasuke this. So that word is dobutsu, which means animal. So basically, Mitsuhide doesn't see Yasuke as a person. He just called him an animal that knows nothing. So what does that mean? It means that probably Yasuke doesn't understand what is happening. So maybe he doesn't know the language. Maybe yes, maybe no. Anyway, back to Yasuke. Was he given anything that would have indicated that he was given the status of samurai? Based on known records, again, although he was indeed given a private house and a sword, it's not enough to constitute being a samurai back on those era. So the answer is probably no. He is not a samurai. Okay, so I will explain why I said that Yasuke was not a samurai, because I will show you the next slide. So here is the classes of warriors under the feudal lord. Um, this is the thing that interests me so much to the point of making this video. So in those era, right, Japan was divided into several domains, and each domains have their own feudal lord, and under the feudal lord are the warriors of Japan. And these warriors are divided into 3 known classes. I said known classes because this is the only one that I found. I don't know if there are actually more. There might be, but this is the 3 ones that I found. So there is the samurai, which is, samurai. Kachi is, I tried to translate this. I tried to put the Japanese character in a translator, and it translates as clansmen. So I assume they are people who were brought into the clan. And then there are ashigaru. Now, the former two, which is samurai and kachi, are considered shibun. Those are warrior who has an official status among the warrior classes. Ashigaru is not considered a shibun. So samurai. What? How is a person being called a samurai? First and foremost, I'm pretty sure people know that it is heredity, and basically a samurai is allowed to ride a horse when they are at war, and a samurai is also given a territory of, well, basically he was given a territory. I actually wasn't sure if it has to be more than 100 koku. Koku is probably an old system that measures distance, probably the same as the ancient Chinese measuring system, which called Li. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but yeah. So a samurai can ride a horse, and they were also given a territory, a large territory to govern. Kachi, while they are the same, while Kachi is also called Shibun, they are a lower rank than a samurai, and officially they are not allowed to ride a horse. They are also corresponded to gokenin, which are vassals who serve nobles and high-ranking people. Now, ashigaru, the same as kachi, foot soldiers, but they are not considered shibun, and that is why there is actually a very large disparity between the two. And ashigaru are also called bukei hokonin. That was very lengthy, and I think it can be translated as soldiers who serves the public officials, and the public officials in this case are actually the samurai, the family of samurai, and this group of soldiers are divided into three categories. So the first category, Wakato, I don't know if I pronounced that right. Wakato is the highest of the Ashigaru. It is also said that their status is actually in between an Ashigaru and Akachi, but do remember that there's a large disparity between the two rank. So even though they are in between, they are probably still far away from being Akachi. Also, Wakato is also referred to young retainers who serve the samurai family. Sometimes the way they serve is probably bring a slipper, bring what do you call this? Clothes, sword. Basically, they carry stuff for their masters. Also, I think this is during Edo era. I might be wrong, but it might also be stretched further into feudal Japan also. Wakato are also called Wakato samurai. The reason for this is because when they accompanied their masters while doing their duties such as guarding, they wore haori and hakama. But they are still not a samurai. Chugen. Now, Chugen, I had a hard time trying to make sense of this, and there are two types, temporary and special case. I do have a hard time trying to understand this part of Ashigaru. So basically, they work like a mercenary. The temporary Chugen is hired when needed. So they work based on contract per person. Most of them are sons of peasants and farmers. Right, that's the temporary one. So basically, a singular, at least based on my understanding, they are a singular mercenary. Now, the special Chugen is those who serve their clan through heredity inheritance. Wow, typo. Anyway, yeah, through heredity inheritance. So basically, for example, all right, a certain lord hired not just one person but a whole family to do a certain work. So the whole family will be contracted for a long period of time. That's why their children's grandchildrens can inherit those contractual duties. And because of this, they are allowed to carry a sword with their clan's marking. Because, it's they serve the same clan for a long time already. So might as well just show their loyalty, right? Show where they stand. And then Komono. Komono, I don't have much information about this. And even the place where I did my research only have this single line. So basically they are private servants of a samurai clan. So I assume they're like, you know, maids, cook, cleaners and stuff, and maybe some guards, because guards and soldiers are usually different. Sometime a house guard cannot fight because they usually live not on a war zone. So if you are to compare guards and soldiers, there's gonna be a huge difference. Now, so we've learned the classes, the warrior classes of Japan. Was there anything on that says Yasuke was a samurai in that era? Now, this is just my opinion. Just my opinion. For me, Yasuke was not a samurai. He doesn't have a territory. He was not trained to be an officer. And if we are to take what Mitsuhide said, he barely knows any Japanese. And then, while there were claims that Nobunaga liked him enough to give him a territory and a castle, because he never received those, so he was never being stated as, was it stated or instated, reinstated, stated, I think stated is the right word. Basically, he was not stated as a samurai. He was never given that title. So what was he then? There are not enough source material. Well, there might be, but I only did like 1 hour of research, so I don't have enough material to say what particular rank Yasuke held while he was serving as a vassal of Nobunaga. But it was clear to me that he was not a samurai, if we are to use the distinction of that era. But if we're gonna use the modern distinction, where it's being used as a blanket term instead, then yes, he's a samurai. Quote and unquote a samurai. But in that era, he wasn't a samurai. For me though, this is just for me, but people do have different opinion, and that is up to them. After all, there's not much being written about Yasuke. But for me, Yasuke is probably a Wakato at most. Because this is based on some description where someone mentioned that when he was walking with Nobunaga, he did not walk as a slave, right? Because he was carrying a sword that carries the symbol of Oda. So that means that he is probably a Wakato. But that's just me. And that is all that I found out about Yasuke and the classes, the warrior classes, warrior classes of Japan. I do hope that you guys found some of the information helpful. I do appreciate if you guys don't use whatever I said in this video to fight against those who believe that Yasuke was a samurai, because technically speaking, they are not wrong, since samurai are used as a blanket term nowadays. But to those who knows that he was not considered a samurai, you guys are also not wrong, because at that time he was indeed not a samurai. No one is actually in the wrong here. Everyone is right by their own term, if I can say that. Plus, plus, plus. It's a game, guys. It's a game. You don't look for historical accuracies in games, no matter how much they boast that they are historically accurate. Alright? And then, what's more, games are supposed to be enjoyed. Just forget about historical accuracies. Forget about those things that would make you stressed. If you don't like the game, don't buy it. If it's too expensive, don't buy it. If you don't like this, I mean, there's you know, there are actually a better alternative if you guys don't want to play Assassin's Creed Shadows. You guys can try Rise of Ronin. While the era are different, what I mean, Nobunaga's era is in feudal Japan, and in Rise of Ronin is actually late feudal Japan. I believe it was in Bakumatsu, because there's Sakamoto Ryoma and there's also Shinsengumi. It's a pretty good game, Rise of Ronin. I know it's PlayStation exclusive, and after what happened with Sony Helldivers stuff, I know some people hate it, and I know some people cannot buy it on Steam, because just like me, you guys were region blocked because of PSN requirement set for us, right? Anyway, yeah, so that is for today's video. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much. If you guys have anything to say about this video, do leave a comment. If you like it, give a like. If you'd like to see more of me, subscribe. And if you guys also want, I also do gaming stream occasionally. I'm currently playing a Euden Chronicles in my main channel. Either YouTube or Twitch. Anything works if you guys would like to see it. But yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.